Hello.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to She Means Well, episode 6.
Episode 6. I look like I'm in a nursing home, Abby.
No, you don't. You look beautiful.
I think I've asked you this before, but do you remember that show Sit and Be Fit? I don't think you do.
No.
It was on like PBS before school, and it was.
I'm thinking like Zumba, like who's that?
Vibes? It is, but it's like these.
Who's that like really big black guy that was super like
Tybo.
intense?
I don't remember his name, but
I remember
we had those
that.
VHSs.
I remember that too.
But
Our moms
Sit
would
and
be
Be
getting
Fit,
into it.
They literally sat in a like
It was
chair.
like geriatric.
Yeah, and they would have like half-pound weights in bands, and I look like I'm about to teach that class.
I should get me some of those half-pound weights.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
Started.
No. Hello, you guys.
Hi.
What a week it's been. It's been quite a learning week for Bailey and I. At our
Talking about
last
geriatric.
at our last business meeting, if you will, we're like, damn dog, like we've learned a lot. Like we have gone through quite the learning curve. Bailey's job it is creative. Like you use that part of your brain. I, on the other hand, don't use this part of my brain. So it's been quite a learning curve for me, but I'm having fun. Like learning all of the like computer programs. It's been a lot and it's been tiring.
That part I have never touched of my, like that's not a part of my job in real
What
life.
do you mean you've never touched it?
Oh, and I never touched it in this job either. Happy does our editing.
I do everything computer and
She said, I do everything. No, I'm kidding.
No,
I'm
I
kidding.
don't. I do everything computer and Bailey does everything pretty. Like makes everything pretty.
I've realized, so in my job, I specialize in color. I don't cut as well. And I do hair if you're new here. And I've learned that the colorists that I know and the designers who just cut, our brains are wired super differently, but it's like all the colorists are so similar and all the designers are. And the designers are like great at like lines and structure and like how things look structurally.
Right.
It's still creative. It's just like a super different, more mathematical, like black and white way.
Right.
And I feel like you really do have that brain. Like you're better at like Canva and graphics because it's like lines, shapes, structure. And I feel like I like to like take a photo of a real object because it's like movement and color and light. And I don't know.
Yeah. I like bringing things to life. I feel like we both sign, I seal, and you deliver.
Yeah. Love it.
I love that.
I
That's
really
so
do
true.
feel like, I mean, good thing, but I feel like we make a good team. Like we have different strengths for
We
sure.
do too. Things that I'm learning these things about you too, that a lot of things that are my weaknesses, you do come in handy.
Got you, baby.
And vice versa. I hope.
You complete me.
Sick.
As we're like trying to not be codependent.
Jeez, we're bad.
Anyway, talk about geriatric. What we're going to get into is we sat down together the other night on my bed and we both have our computers and I'm like, Abby, I'm like literally dusting off my laptop. And I've been having this conversation lately. I think it's like me and the baby boomers. I'm like in a special group. But after high school, I went straight to beauty school. And I'm like aging myself. I feel like
honey.
I really am.
Honey.
I never did any online class. Like I never have. I've never needed a laptop. I didn't go to college. Like we'd go to the computer lab in high school. Literally like half our class would actually like ask Caleb, your brother, obviously, to type our essays because you Epwards are so good on the keyboard.
Why?
Maybe not half, but like a couple people.
I don't know. I feel like
your homeschool computer games, I think.
I wasn't homeschooled.
The airplane. I heard you say the other day, I was homeschooled for a second.
Exactly. My mom tried to, she was amazing. She did homeschool my older siblings, but me being the runt of the pack, she homeschooled me for like a month maybe, but it turned in real quick to like painting my room and going on nature walks, a lot of nature walks. So we're like, honey, why do I keep saying that? She was like, honey, let's get you back to public school.
Yeah. But with that said,
let me finish this, please.
You pull that finger out a lot.
Hold it there, sister.
Yeah, exactly.
I do.
And you say that
in my daily life. But Bailey she pulls out this laptop supposedly I never knew she had, blows the dust off of it. First of all, I'm like, wait, I didn't know you had that. Okay, sister. She gets on there and she was like, wait, what's the website called? I tell her, I look over my shoulder and she's typing, Canva maybe. She was like, canva.com. It's like, bro, what? What are you doing?
It depends on what it is, but
nobody
like
types.
if I'm
Did
on
you
my
do www too?
HTTP /
/Bailey.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know anything. Like when we on our desktop here downstairs trying to copy and paste on a Mac, I'm like going up to the corner, like file, copy. Like I don't know the space control. Jordan just taught me, but I already forgot it.
I don't think that's crazy. Like I feel like,
oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't know anything, but yeah, on the computer, I asked Abby, I was like, I think I was going to go, I was trying to go to Canva on my computer, which I'd never done before. I just feel like I know my phone so well. I sound old. It's right in front of me and it just works fine. Okay. I kind of feel like a tablet kid because I was like, I just know my iPad better.
She asked me, she was like, does every app have a website?
Does every website have an app? Like,
oh yeah.
Because I went to canva.com and I was like, should I be going to the app?
Which is a valid question because no. And not every app has a website, vice versa.
Oh, because I went to Instagram on she got them flies.
She got them.
Yeah, so I need to be in a computer class. And meanwhile, the owner of the salon, one of them was telling me her 7-year-old is in a coding class. So I'm like, hi, can I get in that class with her?
Dude, that is so smart.
Dude, she's bilingual. She speaks Spanish. I'm like pumping your daughter's tires, Sheena. They have her in Spanish. She golfs.
Oh, how old is she?
7.
7?
Yeah. And she is in a coding class.
She could teach me a couple things.
Dude, she could.
Dang.
I know, it's so smart.
A coding class, that's so smart because if you think about how advanced like technology is now, think about when she's our age, how advanced it's going to be. Sheena's smart for that.
Oh yeah. And I was like, man, Sheena, that's so smart. Like, how do you think to get her in that kind of stuff? And she was like, well, the school sends out some like newsletters and things. And Becky, the other owner of the salon, started laughing. She's like, no, she just wants her to make a lot of money, which I'm like, more power to you.
I mean, you're setting your kid up for success.
It's so
and thinking
smart
about the future too. I think that's super cool that an elementary school is even offering that.
I know.
I wonder what that looks like. Is that them just? I don't know. What does that look like? Are they? Are they on Macs? Or are they on Windows?
Oh, I thought you said Max, MAX. I'm like, don't know what that is. I don't know what she was on, but it was like in their free time, like aside from school. It's not like a class through school. It was like a college kid who is like probably in like the web world, a software engineer. He like is teaching like very basics. And she said she learned how to like move a graphic like across the screen and like make it move and dance. And it's like coding. So it's like,
yeah, a whole different language in itself.
Letters and these
parentheses.
No greater than less than.
Oh,
I feel like that's in coding a lot.
Yeah.
Back in MySpace,
Gosh, that's so crazy. It really is a different language. One of my sister's boyfriends, when she was younger, he was into coding. And I just remember seeing it and I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
It's so crazy. It really is a different language.
Couldn't be me.
It could not be me.
In other news, I'm a brunette now, I guess.
She is, you guys. Look at her. Glimpse.
A slicked back army brat.
You're not a brat and you're not in the army. You're a beautiful gal. I think it looks so good.
Yeah,
shout out to Chelsea.
Shout out to Chelsea. I always
you did a really great job
bringing her my ideas and things and breaking her all of our brains. Like, yeah,
I really love it. It's so perfect for the fall.
Thank you.
I feel like it really warms you up.
It's actually quite a bit lighter when it's down, but
I like it.
I like it too.
Good.
I do. It's kind of like a.
And I'm blonde again.
And
so shout out to Bailey.
Well, you've been blonde.
I know, but I'm like back to what I would typically like to be. You
Yeah,
say
we did
always.
a little home hair the other day. That was fun. I
Ugh.
haven't done hair at home
I mean, yes,
in a while.
it was fun, and I'm grateful. Thank you.
It's actually not ideal for any party, but
Yeah,
I made Abby. I was like,
you
I'd
made
rather
me
just be home.
break my neck.
I know. I'm sorry. It's actually probably worse for you, but
No, we always have so much fun.
oh yeah,
Magic happens at that bowl. Let me tell you.
shampooing you in the sink. I literally felt like I was about to give you a kiss.
I felt like I was about to have a seizure
Yeah,
or a heart attack.
I know that was cranked.
It was bad.
Our shampoo bowls have this like headrest in it, not the neck rest, but the headrest, and then that's like the game changer because your neck's not like.
Mm-hmm. You guys, on the would you rather, so let me refresh your memory. The would you rather last week was, would you rather wear the same thong or underwear for a month straight, or a stranger's boxers for 2 weeks straight?
Yikes.
And the same thong underwear won. It was pretty close. It was that one only won by 2, which is pretty crazy. And I'm like, oh, it's probably just like guys that voted strangers. No, girly pops. There was a lot of girls that voted that.
Yeah, and I feel like I don't.
I want you to think of the worst hygienic man that you know, and then rethink your answer.
Okay, but Abby,
I know.
the thongs aren't great.
Well, I wouldn't wear a thong then. I would just wear like regular, like
Those
seamless.
ones from Target.
Like seamless.
The ones from Target with like the band.
Yeah,
My
those
favorite
are
comfy
sturdy.
ones. Not
Those
the
are-
thong, but like,
I know.
yeah, those are so comfy.
Those are sturdy.
yeah. They're like a bikini cut.
Yeah.
High leg vibe.
But you would still have an underwear line and everything you wore. So
But you're wearing it for a month. Get comfy, just like
yeah.
my client, I talked to her about it in real life. So I guess this is another vote towards boxers because she was like, we did get a DM from another one of my clients and
That was boxers.
Jordan. Yeah, that said, she said you could wear on Instagram, you could wear your thong for 2 weeks one
Oh.
way, then flip it inside out and the other way. And I'm like, okay, now we're thinking. But my client said the same thing, but for the boxer thing, she said, because the boxer's only for 2 weeks. So you'd only have to wear the boxers for 1 week, flip it inside out and wear it that way for another week. So it's half the time. That kind of persuaded me. But it's like, but whose are they?
Yeah. Went to them. Okay, Bailey and I went to a late night drive to get a little snack from our local gas station here the other night, and very nice homeless man was sitting outside, and I was just like, Bailey, those are the boxers you have to wear.
Yeah.
She was like, nope, going with the thong.
Yeah. Yikes. Okay. So
Yikes.
do you have a would you rather for this week?
I do.
Oh, good. Because I don't.
Okay, this is a good one. Would you rather have to lick the bottom of your most worn, true and tried shoe that you wear?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm talking heel to toe.
Okay.
Heel to toe. Or have dinner with Michael Jackson at his house. Just you two, candle lit.
Michael Jackson. That's easy. You thought I was going to take that bait.
Yes.
I know. I would love to have dinner with Michael Jackson.
Scratch that.
Okay.
So
She is coming from, I watched like one too many documentaries about Michael Jackson. Like it would be so different today. Like he's not held accountable for these crazy allegations and like
says Bailey.
I forget the name of the documentary, but it convinced, dude, there's so many like inappropriate things that and it's like he was robbed of his childhood. Like, okay, well, that's sorry. A lot of people were, and they are held accountable.
Yeah.
But
Well,
was he the king of pop, creative genius, gifted, blessed?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would love to have dinner with him. That's so easy. Do you have another one?
yeah, I just want to throw that out there.
Okay.
Or would you rather have to lick
Lick the bottom of your shoe.
a hairy armpit?
My shoe. Ew, I'm picturing my dad's armpit, and I am.
Yeah.
My dad is like, does not hold back with deodorant. He goes, and it
One
looks like, and it
time-
gets stuck in his armpit hair.
Ew.
Goodbye.
One time,
Sorry,
so
Pat.
Bailey and I, our families grew up going to our grandpa's house in Idaho every summer. And I remember I was probably like 6, 7, 8 years old. And your dad was lathering up that
It's
deodorant.
like down his whole side.
Acting like it's like body lotion. and I was just like kind of watching him, and he's like, I'll give you $20 to lick that. And I'm just like, probably no.
Uncle Lance not made me lick his armpit. Ew.
Sick.
That's so gross. I would rather lick the bottom of my shoe. Abby, you're not licking no armpits. No way.
I would rather lick an armpit, a hairy armpit. You don't have to do the whole.
Yes, if you're doing that to the bottom of the shoe, you should do that.
That's the rule, Bailey. It's my week.
No, that's not the same.
My
Would you
week.
rather, Abby? The standards aren't the same.
Well,
they need to be held the same.
That's the rule.
Abigail.
This week, that's the rule. You got to make the rule next week, sis.
Okay, lick my shoe.
Lick an armpit. A hairy
so
one.
You're saying like this?
No, it has to be like, you have to cover some.
You have to make contact with the skin?
Oh, yeah. Through hair to skin.
That is disgusting.
And I get to pick who.
Well,
Okay, no,
and
that's not fair.
And I get to pick the shoe.
You would pick the person for me. The hairy armpit.
This is getting out of control. How are people supposed to vote on this? There's too many variables.
No, Bailey, it's simple.
That's why you need to make it super black and white. It's like the variables need to be the same. It's the same lick.
Not Bailey micromanaging my week.
Well, I'm trying to be consistent here. How are we supposed to make people vote if they have all these different like standards of like what's a lick? How like or I just lick the mic.
Okay, Bailey, if you're gonna get your tidy whities in a bundle,
yeah,
you're right. Let's make it a little bit more black and white. Okay, shoe, toe to heel, lick, just where hair is present.
You would rather
Brillo
pad.
Baby.
Like this.
Literally.
That's what it would sound like, Abby.
That is so.
For everyone listening, I'm touching my microphone. It's about the same consistency, probably.
For everybody just listening, Bailey's actually licking her mic.
No. And you're probably going to get hair stuck on your tongue.
And you're probably going to get slugs and bugs and very horrible things.
I would lick these shoes. No problem.
So I guess it's left to you guys. Help me out here. I know it's gross. But
it's so humbling, honestly, when we put the vote out there and it's like, oh.
I was like, I guess I am alone. So today, Bailey and I wanted to kind of circle back around to something that we had touched on briefly in an early episode, and that is singleness and the importance of taking advantage of your singleness, the intentionality that should take place in your singleness. I think it's really fun, or I've had fun talking about it with Bailey because we both have had different experiences in our singleness, different point of views. So we want to share that with you guys.
Yeah. I think growing up, just because it's easy to compare not only you and I, but like our sisters, those are other people that we can use as like, I almost feel like there's like, maybe there's more than two categories, but I feel like for our, comparing our two families, like one of your sisters and I were super similar. And then my sister and your other sister, all the sisters.
I'm the youngest of 4 kids. I have 2 older sisters. Bailey's the youngest of 3 kids. She has 1 older sister.
There you go. So I feel like there's 2 types of people. And I feel like either you're someone who can learn on your own and you almost need to, and you need to go through it. You need to experience it. And you're like, dang, fell on my face. Well, that's the hard way. So like you have to learn the hard way or not, kind of. Mm-hmm. And then the other type of person is you could learn from watching someone fall on their face. And you're like, yikes, that did not look fun. I don't want to do that. So thank you for teaching that lesson. Thank you for going through that for me, I will learn from you.
Yeah.
And that's definitely more of the person that I feel like I am.
You fall into that category
For
more.
sure.
Yeah. Thinking back about like
my siblings, they both dated and in high school, and I definitely like would
She has an older brother too.
And I have older brother and sister, and they both dated in high school, and my parents, I feel like, did their best to like, okay, we don't want to like do like a hard and fast, like no dating. Like, come on, let's be normal. Like I remember my mom being like, do you have any crushes? Like, that's so exciting. That's a super normal thing to feel. And like a super normal, exciting thing to experience. Also like babysitting my 5-year-old niece tonight. She was like, baby, I think this kid at school has a crush on me, but like, I don't want a crush on him back. I have a crush on someone else. And then later she was like, isn't it kind of funny? Like I have a crush on someone, but like, he's in 3rd grade, Philson. I'm like, okay.
3rd grade.
I know. And
that's like old.
I know. I was like, what's he look like? She's like, his hair kind of goes to the side. I was like, oh, it's long. He's like a comb over kind of. She's like, yeah.
I need to spray some holy water on her. What's going on? Just kidding.
Yeah. And she's like, my crush likes me, but I don't really like him back.
Oh.
But anyway, so my parents, I feel like, did their best to like, okay, let's let our kids date, but let's have boundaries around it. Let's like help foster what it looks like to have a healthy relationship, and not just like, well, guess they're dating, have fun, don't know what you guys are up to, you know, whatever.
Right.
And it didn't really seem like fun to me. It really didn't, because it was lots of
a lot.
It just felt like serious. It just felt so serious. And I was like, I'm not about to marry anyone from my high school. And like we said in a couple episodes back, being raised to date to marry with that in mind.
Right.
And I didn't want to date or marry people from my high school. I mean, I definitely liked people, would go on dates, or I had a lot of friends that we would just like all hang out with. But
yeah,
I didn't get into anything super serious in high school.
Yeah.
So I feel like I learned from my siblings because they both dated. It both seemed like serious conversations with my parents. I'm like, I don't want to be friends with my parents and chill. And I didn't.
It's funny. This is kind of random, but I want to say this real quick. I noticed the older I got, the more I realized I feel like your parents were definitely more strict always when it came to dating stuff compared to my parents. Or I feel like they were a lot more involved, I guess, or had more like rules when it came to like date. Like I remember, for example, so I had to get nose surgery. Shout out to my brother for breaking my nose twice.
I didn't know Caleb broke your nose twice.
Yeah, he did. And anyway, story for another time. And my mom, I love you, Mom, but she was on a cruise when I had my nose surgery. And so my aunt, Bailey's mom, took care of me.
Those things.
And so I just stayed at like their house while my mom was on this cruise. Yes, because my dad was too busy.
Yo, where was your dad?
No, he like,
because she visited. My mom was gonna care for you like she would care for you.
And I feel like I knew that too.
Yeah.
But my boyfriend at the time came over to your guys' house. I don't know where you were, because you were still living at home, I'm pretty sure. But I was staying, I think, in your room, just like on my deathbed, stents up my nose. And my boyfriend came and like wanted to keep me company. And it wasn't anything inappropriate. He literally was just in your room with me. The door was wide open, nothing weird. I was laying in bed, but like he was sitting on the end of the bed. And your dad came in and he was not happy. Not happy at all.
Oh, to have
just a guy upstairs with me.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, my parents would let people be upstairs. It's probably the bed thing, not the upstairs thing.
Yeah. Probably the bed thing. Yeah, I'll just always remember that. He came in and he was just like, we don't do this. I know that you might be used to it at your house, but we don't do this in this house. And I'm like on hydrocodone, just like, okay.
Oh gosh.
But, yeah, I'll always remember that. Anyway, where I was going with that, my oldest sister, Hannah, she was like a wild child. Like she just did anything. She wanted to get underneath my mom's skin, I think, growing up. And then my other sister was a saint, an angel, did nothing. Like just like the golden child. And I feel like I did fall somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Like I did do things that I knew that my parents wouldn't approve of, but I would tell them. Like I would be like, I'm doing this knowing that I would have consequences, but I still like wanted to experience those things on my own, whether that was, dating or partying or whatever. I still needed to experience it on my own because in my head, I'm like, okay, well, Hannah did it this way. I can do it better. Haley didn't do anything at all. So let's live a little.
Oh, that's interesting. Because
I
look at Haley and I'm like, dang, she got out of high school with minimal hurt in her heart. And like, and it's like,
oh, totally. If I could go back and redo it, I would much rather have a Haley Bailey approach.
Yeah.
When I was younger versus a Mikey Hannah approach.
Sorry, guys.
Sorry. I love you. But I mean, I fall into that Mikey Hannah, I feel like more than I do the Bailey.
My sister
Haley.
was definitely like 2 middle fingers up, like, watch me. She ran away with her boyfriend in high school. And I was like, dude, you got, like we said, the wipeout big red balls. I was like,
night she got them big red balls.
The night she moved out, she like came into our room because we like had our own rooms, and then we moved into this we moved in this bigger house. We had our own rooms because we used to share. And then one time we were like, I miss you too. Do you want to share a room again? So we like moved our stuff to the bonus room in the middle of the night. Yeah. And so we shared a room, and she came in. She's like, can I use your phone? Mom and Dad, I knew her phone had been taken away for who knows what reason.
That was our parents' classic.
Yeah. I never got my phone taken away. Not once. Did nothing.
I didn't get in trouble all that much, but
anyways, she was like, can I use your phone? And I was like, well, no, like Mom and Dad took yours away. And she storms out, and she like had her backpack on, and she was like walking to her friend's house
with her basketball shorts and slippers on.
Yeah. Knotted, dreaded hair, probably didn't brush it. And my dad's such a good dad. He like got in his truck and followed behind her because she wasn't about to get in his car.
It's like a movie.
She was like running away, and he's like, we lived on a street like outside of her development that had no lights. And he's like, I'm not going to let her walk in the dark. So he's like, I'll follow behind her. So he followed behind her, made sure she got in there, and was like, love you.
Into her ex.
No, into her friend's house.
Oh.
And then she moved to like his house or whatever.
How long was she at her friend's house before she moved in with him?
Oh, the next day. That was
the plan.
Where she was going. And it was funny because we had it was over the summer, and we had volleyball tryouts. And so, there's like a packet with like your physical information and like your medical,
Mikey
whatever.
Was good.
Yeah. And she filled out all her paperwork in pencil. And my volleyball coach.
She just didn't. Mikey honestly
was IDGAF. That was literally.
Yes. And loved her energy in high school. I feel like
she's wild.
She was wild, but not like Hannah wild.
No.
She was just
IDGAF wild.
Yes.
Like that's it.
In all areas, like never cared what anybody thought of her. Always was herself, and everybody loved her because of that.
I love her.
I love her.
I love her.
She's such an amazing woman.
An inspiration.
I love you, Michaelin.
I love you, sis piss.
I need to get you on this podcast, eh?
Anyway.
Just waiting for you, sis.
Yeah, she filled out her physical and paper or pencil, and my volleyball coach was like, these don't look the same. And my mom's like, yeah, I didn't sign Michaelin, so she like wasn't approved to play. And then that's what really got her like, fine, we gotta figure this thing out. But anyway, so she, IDGAF energy for dating. And I don't know, it just didn't seem like all that. I didn't want to be so serious. Like, I'm not going to get married when I'm 18, and I'd rather like go on dates. Like, I think it's super important to go on dates, like figure out things you do like, things you don't like, personalities that work well with you, personalities that don't.
Totally.
That is so important. I'm not saying find one person and settle down, but just be intentional,
Yeah. Okay. Question for you then. So obviously when you're in high school, you're young, but you are interested in dating. How did you know at that age, like to date with
intentionality?
Yeah. Intentionality, and that you were dating for marriage. Like that's a really young brain to be thinking those things.
Yeah. I think that, I don't know. I really looked up to my parents, and like we shared before, our parents, your parents were high school sweethearts, and my parents met like the summer after graduating. So basically the same thing.
Yeah.
And it just seemed so like their relationships, like there were so many things that were so aligned in both of their values with their partners. And there were definitely people I really liked, and I really would have at the time probably wanted to date, but we didn't because we were really great friends. And it's like, you don't want to ruin your friendship or your friend group or whatever. And I'm so thankful to not have actually dated like that.
Yeah.
Because looking back, our values were not the same. Like, wholly, we were not really on the same page, like what we really believed in, how we really lived our lives out. And I really enjoyed having lots of friends.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed having fun and it not feeling serious. And I knew for my family with my parents, if I was going to date, it would be a pretty formal thing because they wanted to protect our hearts, which I love like my parents for that, for like being involved and for having intentional. There's a lot that like, I think they would probably look back and be like, maybe we're a little too serious about some things, or other things that they're like, we could pat ourselves on the back for that. Like, I think we helped like guide our children in the right, like it's any parent's going to look back and be like, okay, well, give or take.
Right.
But there's a lot that I've learned from my parents. And like, I really would love to I want to be involved enough to where I'm not wondering like what my kid is out there doing. Like, I want to know. There's like, that's so young. That's so young to give your heart to somebody. That's so like such a big thing. And I think it's so easy to get like attached to somebody before you even know who you are at all. And then it's like after you graduate, you're in a quote unquote adult. You're so young. And I don't know. I think 25 for me was like literally everything, just like they say your brain is fully developed. I don't know if it's maybe for women at 25. And I was like, there's no joke. There's no joke. I feel like I know who I am. I know. And it's probably not just my brain developing, but like what I was seeking out with therapy and like where I was in life and whatever. But I don't know. I think it's just so young.
Yeah, it is so young.
But it's almost like if parents say you can't date until you're 35, it almost makes you want to do that more.
Right.
And probably too, I had friends who were in really serious relationships. And ironically, people I feel like would come to me for advice or talk to me about it. And I'm like, okay, like I hadn't really dated much, but it seemed like drama. And I just wasn't into it.
Right.
For myself.
Okay.
I don't know, looking back, if I was like, I definitely wasn't like, I'm not gonna date. That was not my vibe. It just didn't really happen. And I think that I was thinking, okay, yeah, I could probably have more fun,
I'll
enjoy my time.
I'll stay clear
of
the hurt that I saw my brother and sister go through.
Yeah. It just seemed like it didn't pan out.
That is so awesome.
It didn't pan out the fairy tale ending with that. I'm sure they learned a lot from those relationships and things. But I learned from them, so I'm thankful. So
yeah. Now tell me that. So you and Jordan now have been together for 8 years,
7 years,
7 years.
Yeah,
that's a long time.
Yeah.
So from the time that you graduated high school to the time that you met Jordan, how old were you?
I was 20.
Because we were just talking about your POV when you're in high school.
Right.
Now I want to know, was there a point before you met Jordan were you starting to feel like, I want this. I desire to have a relationship.
Totally.
And also, was there a point where you're like, I'm ready for that?
Oh, yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I think that I was excited. I think looking up to my parents, super excited to like have someone to like share my life with. Not necessarily ready to like be married and have kids and all of that. But I was definitely excited to like have a person that's like not like your girlfriend,
Yeah.
Someone that you can share
more intimate things with.
And just like fun, in a different way.
Totally.
I was really excited for that. I feel like I should go back and look, but I remember like specifically like sitting in front of the Starbucks. I got there and they were like closing. So I was like, they're late. And I'm like, oh, I'll just sit in the parking lot. I was like journaling and I was just like, whatever you're up to. Like,
you sat in the parking lot in your car?
Yeah. Thinking about you, like journaling to whoever I was going to be with. And I just remember thinking, God, like, why are they not here yet? Why are they not here? And then I remember it hitting me.
So you had been wanting something for some time.
Yeah. And to my point in high school, it wasn't intentional about not like a bit, but not like I'm not going to date. Like, I think
your brain just wasn't there.
Right. Right. And I think I looked at my friends and I weighed the pros and cons. And it seemed like there was a little bit more drama, heartache, whatever, cons than it seemed like someone who was
pros
coming alongside you and not fulfilling all your needs. But like, you know what a healthy relationship is? It wasn't that.
Yeah.
And so 2 years after high school, being 20, like I think I had turned 20 like a month before I met Jordan. So it's still pretty young. But I remember just thinking, I'm ready to like share my life with someone. Like not super seriously, but like I was down to date and I had like gone on dates with like people I didn't go to like in the time frame from high school to not like had gone on some dates.
2 years,
yeah, but nothing serious. And I don't know.
And you're like, okay, I'm ready to be like serious.
But I remember going on dates and being like, I don't think I want that, you know, which I think you should do for sure.
That's super important. I mean, by no means you sitting at home twiddling your thumbs, you're not going to find your man.
No, and you're not going to figure out everything you need to know about yourself either.
Totally. I think it's so important to date because, I mean, do you find out the way that like you want to be treated? Like, oh, I don't want to be loved that way. Like, I don't want to be, I want someone to open the door for me. Like, oh, I didn't know that was important to me. But like now going on this date, I know that's important. Or I remember I went on this date and this is just so simple, but we went out to a restaurant and he like never said thank you to the waiter. And I'm just like,
rude.
That is like so unattractive.
It
like
is.
That's enough for me.
Yeah.
Like, I'll take the check.
And I will be paying.
Yeah. No, not that. But
I remember McLaren, one of my best friends, saying, at the least, free drink, free dinner, just go. Like, and that's so true. And come back with a story for your girlfriends,
Yeah. So what was intentional about the time that you graduated high school to the time that you met Jordan? Like, what do you want to share with the listeners? What's your advice of like what you should be doing in preparation to be in a relationship?
This is going to sound a little crazy, but I fully believe in like hearing from the Lord, obviously. But from a young age, my parents really instilled like what it looked like to be single and like what that looked like to like pray for your future partner and not feel super rushed to get there. Like I did not feel like I needed to meet him at 18. But I remember it was when my sister was going into high school, when we were on a family vacation. My dad pulled all of us older girls aside. I mean, maybe it wouldn't be, I don't know, you were in middle school maybe. I snuck in with the older girls by the skin of my teeth.
But instead, he was like, lick my armpit. Thanks, Unky.
But he pulled us older girls aside and was saying, Mikey and Haley, you're going into high school. I just want to encourage you guys, like get alone with the Lord this week. I want to challenge you, get alone with the Lord, pray about qualities and things that you are asking from the Lord that to hold yourself accountable, essentially, before you get into high school and you have all these pressures and you have all of these, like outside influences and whatever, cute boys, pray about what these specific things are on your list. And I don't know if my dad came up with 7, like let's say 7 things. And I had that list. And I remember in high school, this guy I went to homecoming with, I really liked him and I ended up calling things off. And I was like, I really heard from the Lord that I was going to be married to a musician and you aren't one. So, and I think that's something which it's kind of funny because I was so young, but it was so clear to me what I heard. And a tangible piece of advice is in your singleness, get super honest with yourself, and not necessarily like, I want him to make this much amount of money and I want him
to be this tall,
that kind of stuff that you don't forget that stuff, but qualities, characteristics,
right?
Who they are,
heart stuff,
how they like care for their family. Like that was one of the big things for me. And so it was super easy to hold myself accountable to that list. And I don't know if everybody's this way, but maybe it does come back to the, like, you got to learn from people or you learn yourself, whatever. But it didn't seem all that hard to hold myself accountable because I knew I had heard from the Lord so clearly. And if sure, I dated people or would go on dates, and I don't know off the rip if they all have all those attributes and characteristics. So that's why I think it's important to date, because you find that out. But I remember just being like, it's not that hard for me to say, I know you're not my guy.
Ugh, that's such good advice. And I wish that was advice that I had heard at a younger age. Obviously, our parents share the same values, but I don't think my parents spoke so loudly on it like your parents did. Of course, guard your heart. Don't, put everything out on your sleeve to the first boy that you think, could be the one. They were good about that. But my experience was a lot different from yours. And I love hearing your advice because I feel like if I could have heard that maybe when I was younger, that could have saved me a lot of like heartache. But then again, like looking back at my thing, I don't regret it at all. Like I learned a lot and I had, a great experience doing things differently than you.
But everyone is different. Like, sorry,
That
Mikey, I love you, but she had that dang list and she ran away with her boyfriend in high school.
Right.
So it's like, you're only going to be as successful as holding it. You got to hold yourself accountable.
She sure gone down and ripped that list out. That's for sure.
We love you, Kyle. You are that list.
Kyle is the list.
Ugh.
We love Kyle.
We love you, Kyle.
It's Michaelin's husband.
Better be.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I want to hear your perspective on things.
Yeah. Well, Auntie, your mom. Well, I dated one person all throughout high school. Great experience. Wouldn't take it back. Learned a lot. He was awesome. Family loved him. It was great. But if I would have taken your route, I would have saved myself a lot of heartache.
I think confusion too, because you are like, well, I love this person.
Mm-hmm.
I have been in love with this person. They're a great person. I could see my life with them.
Mm-hmm.
I could see how they fit in my family.
Yeah.
And then I think it just gets muddy.
Right. Because your list that you made when you were 14, I'm sure was different from the list that you made when you were 18. Question.
No, I mean, I'm sure I could add to that if I continue to
because I feel like mine was. That's why I was asking.
Was what different?
Was different because
I don't know. I really feel like I was super intentional, even as crazy as 14 sounds. Like
it does.
Hearing from the Lord of characteristics and attributes that my future spouse was going to have. I know I heard from the Lord. So, God's not going to change his mind.
That's true.
So I think my list could get longer, but it's really tricky with lists because you could get into the gotta be over 6 whatever territory.
Yeah. Maybe just my heart was in the right place spiritually when I was 14 years old because I thought the person that I was with
was
at the time, I thought he was that person.
Yeah.
But gosh, just I opened my heart up very, very young. I think my list when I was 14 years old, it was the person that I was dating, minus the biggest factor, which is we weren't on the same spiritual wavelength.
Yeah.
So that should have been, right then and there.
That was a gross sound. Hey.
I don't know what it was when I was younger, but and I would love to dive into this and talk about it more, think about it more within myself, but from a young age, man, I just feel like I needed to feel validated in some way, or the attention felt really nice to have like at a young age from a guy. And I mean, him and I, we were like BFFs. Like we genuinely had so much fun together. But I really did open my heart up so young, and unfortunately, like lost my virginity very young. And I feel like that just set myself up for a very, very big heartbreak. Um, so I really liked hearing your point of view. My point of view is very different. I went about it in a whole different way. I think because I went through or made the choices that I did so young, and I went through a lot more emotionally like deep emotions, I feel like I matured quicker than the average being. Like when I was 20, I feel like I was already becoming very self-aware of like who I am and what I needed to fix and what was going on around me, relationship stuff. And I don't know, Bailey. I just feel like I wish I could save that little girl. You know, looking back, I was a mess, dude, because I opened up my heart and because I ignored what God had for me and that He wanted to save me. And it took me a really long time to forgive myself for like sleeping with someone at such a young age. You know, even to this day, I'm like, I don't want to tell my kids when I lost my virginity. That sucks. But
I think that this conversation, to me, I'm not a mom yet, but I feel like I relate to a mom brain much more than I relate to a young person brain.
yeah.
And if anything, I think that this conversation, like, what will you tell your kids? You know, like what advice could we give to moms who do have young girls who will start dating young? Because we could look at the difference between how our parents were, the things that your parents did or didn't do, and mine, whatever, vice versa. And knowing how it played out for both of us, like what are some tangible tips I think that is good dating advice? Like, should you be involved so much? I think so, but like, is it like you don't want to? I don't think it's great to have your thumb on them either, because then they're gonna, like, my sister's like, F you, I'm gonna do whatever I want to do anyway.
Right.
So what's the balance?
I've had this conversation with my parents, and them growing up, they were very good kids. Like they did very wholesome, very good kids. They, you know, didn't go out and party. They party hardy. They didn't like sleep together. They were just very wholesome kids.
Yeah.
Because they didn't, and this is so stupid, but when I was young, they couldn't give me any tangible like stories that they experienced. It was just like, don't do this.
Right.
Because the Bible says this and God says this. Like, absolutely. All of those are true. But I feel like when you're so like spiritually like young too, I'm like, okay, yes, I know God says that, but like, why? Like, what? Can you give me an example? Why not?
Interesting. Yeah.
And so I've thought about that a lot. Now, like when I get to have kids, not that I'm, you know, proud of like making these bad choices as a young girl, but I get to share those stories with them. And I get to say, you know, I didn't make the right decision and it was heartbreaking. And I went through a lot of hurt and it took me a long time to heal from those decisions. Learn from me.
See, I think that is easier to learn from
and easier to approach your parent with too.
Because it's like you're not, which I mean, that's so great that your parents were that. They were that, not only image, they were that.
Yeah.
Like, that's so great. But it's so hard because it's almost like, I feel like it's easier to come to someone who has like shared what they've been through and that they're not perfect, which your parents weren't ever giving, like, you have to be perfect. They weren't saying that to you at all.
And they never glorified, look how perfect we did it either.
No, exactly.
Never.
And it's so beautiful that they were able to execute that.
Yeah.
But I think as a young person going to a grown-up person with these questions and these feelings and what do I do? It's gotta be easier to go to the person who's been like, hey, I've been in the dumpster fire. I'm not in the dumpster fire now. So learn from me. And it's so much easier to be like, hey, I might be like in a hairy situation. I know you said you've been in a hard spot before. So, and it's just hard to go to people who haven't been in that dumpster fire, you know?
Totally, dude. Like when I lost my virginity, like that's something I wanted to talk to my mom about, obviously. Like I had a lot of questions, you know, maybe I was a little bit scared if like it was safe, whatever. But like I couldn't.
Yeah.
I couldn't. And long story short, they found out I had lost my virginity without me telling them. And then it was a conversation. Of course, they were very loving and they were there for me. They weren't angry. They weren't, you know, they obviously, I'm sure, are heartbroken. But I want my daughter or son to be able to come to me. I'm sure my son would go to my husband, right? But anyway, I want them to feel like comfortable to come to me and be like, this happened. And, you know, I don't know what to do about it, Mom. I didn't ever feel like I could do that. And I've talked with my mom about this and she's been like, I really wish we could have done that better.
Yeah. Oh shoot, I was just going to ask you something. Okay. So with that being said, wouldn't it be ideal, because like you said, losing your virginity so young, like there's a lot that comes with that. Like when you share that with somebody, it's not just that, like the act of sleeping with somebody, it comes with a lot. Like there's a reason why they call it a soul tie, you know?
Oh, totally.
And, is there things that could be done before your kid is getting there? Like a certain line of communication where it's like, hey, honey, if you go down that road.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's something that my dad used to say, like our moms, like the topic of this topic of sex was so like taboo with like how, like, it was like, don't even say that word. How our moms grew up. Like it felt like a little bit like that's for married people and don't talk about it.
But I would say in my young age too, at my house. Yeah.
But my parents, I feel like my dad was always talking about like sex is beautiful. Whoa, almost knocked my glass over. It's like a beautiful thing within the confines of like a marriage. And like, I feel like it was framed differently. And I feel like I didn't get anywhere near that in high school because of having so many conversations about like what comes with that. It's not just having sex. So I feel like having so many conversations about like, it's not like, make it not a taboo thing.
Yeah.
You know, because then it doesn't feel like this secret thing. I don't know, from like such a young age.
Yeah, that's a good point. I feel like my parents did too. And I still said, screw you.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's just, it honestly just intrigues my brain because like I said, I feel like I identify more with a mother's brain right now than a young person's brain. So it honestly really makes me think of my nieces. And good luck out there, Mike. You know, like like they are the closest thing I have to a daughter. And like, what kind of conversations are you going to have with them, you know?
Yeah.
To help protect their heart.
I think of the way that my parents parented my eldest sister, Hannah. We're 8 years apart, was very different from the way that they parented me, the fourth kid. The way that they parented Hannah was just like, I think how most parents probably do with their first kid, I'm assuming, don't know. But what I'm assuming is it's like all hands on deck, like a lot more control over them versus like, they're older, they're tired, they've learned from the other kids that they've parented, like with me. And I had a lot of trust with my parents too, because I was open and honest. But with me, it was very relaxed too.
Whoa, was that you?
Yeah. It's my throat.
I wasn't even sure if it was me.
I don't know. So I feel like I took advantage of
the trust
and it, yeah. Shame on me. Shame on me. I'm sorry, Mom and Dad. I love you.
It's just an interesting conversation. I think going through the timeline therapy kind of thing, like I shared about in the therapy episode, is it really made me want to hug that little people pleaser little girl.
Yeah.
And it really makes me think of my nieces. And so I think that knowing that like the friends, the teachers, the aunt in their life, like it is going to impact their timeline. Like if they find themselves at 25 in therapy, doing timeline therapy, a conversation I had tonight with her babysitting her could be on that timeline, you know? So it really makes me think about like intentionality in adults to young people and like how those conversations like mold these young people and mold their thoughts around these big adult topics. And even my niece talking to me about having a crush, it's like, I don't want to shame her at all for having a crush. I'm like, ooh, what's his hair like? What's it?
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's super normal for you to think a boy is cute.
Totally.
And like, that wasn't the narrative for our moms growing up. Like they got in trouble for like from like stepdad. Like it's just like, it just was not right. And so it just has really shifted my thinking on like how you approach and foster these conversations with these young people, meaning like high school, even like what it looks like to have a healthy relationship. And I think like the power and glorifying what a healthy relationship looks like it's huge because you knew the type of characteristics you wanted to have in a partner. One of the number one being like sharing like your same values, but like if you could go back and talk to yourself, knowing that even at that young age, you knew that that was your number one thing. Like if your daughter has a boyfriend who is like a great guy, he fits in the family, like your boyfriend in high school was, but those values don't align.
Yeah.
How do you encourage them to like not invest more time into that? Or like, I don't know. I
think it was hard because my specific situation was pretty similar to my parents growing up. Like when my mom and dad first started dating, my dad had recently been saved.
Yeah.
And had just started like really diving into a relationship with God personally. And my boyfriend in high school, he like had always like known Jesus, but like never had a personal relationship. And so I think my parents are like, oh, well, we were kind of in similar shoes.
Right.
Like it was like
they don't have a leg to stand on to be like, run, because they were kind of in that boat.
Right. But I think if it was me giving my daughter advice, if she was in my shoes, I would be like, he's an amazing guy. Like he's awesome. He has so many great qualities, but none of those qualities matter if he doesn't have God in the center of everything.
Right.
In the center of all of those qualities. That's advice I would give to my daughter.
Right. And that doesn't mean can't hang out, can't be friends and like have him around with other people. Like it doesn't mean that you can't
but
teach.
That's silly though.
No, it's true. It's like, it doesn't mean you can't.
I don't know. I disagree.
I'm not saying like you have a special friend, but like, it doesn't mean you can't show him what it's like to be a Christian family.
I guess, yes, if this conversation would have been had in the beginning of me meeting this guy.
And asking for advice, that's the big thing.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. I think that's really great advice.
So it's like,
if you're having this conversation when I already have feelings with who I was as a kid.
So that's the goal, is for to position it so your kids are coming to you like, Mom, I really like this guy. Here's the things I like about him. And knowing that these are the values that you've instilled in your child, hoping that they come to you like expectant for advice on someone who has wisdom. Like I hope to instill that in my kids, where they want to hear what I have to say about, not that I'm like gonna like, you run away from him, I know everything, but I want to like be along for the ride with you. And like, I want it to be like a malleable type thing, and not just like, well, I love him and we are already dating and da 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 da, because then it's just like, what's it called? Stonewall, where it's like, I don't want to hear advice. I'm not asking. Cause then I think it just creates division within the family. And that's what the enemy wants.
They're going to go off and do whatever they please.
1,000,000%.
Yeah. Well, I also think I had the pressure. No, I didn't have the pressure, but my parents set like such a good example of what a loving marriage and relationship and like the sweetest love story ever looks like. And I just wanted that so bad. And I think that instilled something in all of me and my siblings' head of like dating for marriage, even at a young age. Like, honestly, 4 years is a long time.
It is.
To be with someone when you're 14 to 18 years old. You change so much within those years. And I was like, this is my person. Like, because I think of the example that my parents set. And because I do think there's like this pressure with our parents' generation. Not that my parents ever put this pressure on me, but I think it's a common thing that I was aware of at that age of like, there's a timeline to follow type of thing. You know, like you go to high school, you graduate high school, you go to college, you find your person, you get married, you have the kids, you know, you're at home with the kid, you know, there is like that timeline from our parents' generation, but it's like timeline who?
Totally.
You can never go wrong sitting in your singleness a little bit longer. You can never go wrong. Like you're on your own timeline. There is no timeline. Screw that. Like it will happen when it's supposed to happen. It will happen when your heart is prepared. When God has it for you, it will be there. You know what I mean?
I remember hearing TikTok that this girl was like, you know, my mom growing up never used to say, and her mom, she was just sharing the wisdom from her mom because her mom was super intentional. Instead of saying, your dad and I got married or met when we were 18, got married when we were 21, had our first kid when we were 22, had our second when we were 24. Instead of saying that, it was like, your dad and I got married when it was right. And there was no like timestamp on like sure, you can know the age your parents were when they got married, but instead of like hitting home, like I don't think that my parents intentionally were like, we were 22, so TikTok, but it was like, oh geez, like I'm 27 and I'm not married yet. So like,
I don't feel like either one of our parents really put a stamp on timing of things.
Yeah.
Until our older siblings weren't having kids yet.
Yeah.
That's like the first time where I'm just like, why?
Yeah.
You know,
but
they're excited to be grandparents. I totally understand it, but that's the first time where I felt like their generational thing was coming into play. I feel like both of our parents did a really great job of not hitting it hard of like, we got married at 22. What are you doing?
No, it wasn't like
they were aware things were different now.
Yeah. It wasn't like what you were doing, but I just think that's good advice where it's like to talk about timing being right and not being like, we were 22.
Yeah.
You know,
what is the rush? Like marriage is designed. It's a vow. It's an oath that you take with someone. It's a serious thing. And God intends for it to be your lifetime partner. Divorce is not an option for me. You work through those things with that person. And so why would we rush into a marriage with someone if you're not 1010% and you haven't received discernment from the Lord that this is the person for you? Why rush into something with them? And I think that's why I'm saying you can never go wrong sitting in that singleness a little bit longer.
Yeah, you're right. You couldn't go wrong in that.
No. And it's like, it's so easy to get caught up in like, you know, girls my age, like, oh, they're getting married. Oh, they're having their second kid. Okay, who cares? And you're not, or I'm not, with intention, with purpose. Like I'm not in that place on purpose so I can focus on where I'm at right now. The Lord spoke to me very recently. I'll be honest, like I've been single for a couple years now, and I am the type of person that I really desire like having that relationship. I look forward to it. But he spoke to me like, focus on your purpose. Focus on your purpose. Sorry. Focus on your purpose. Focus on what I'm calling you to. And once you fix your eyes on that and on me, before you know it, you're going to be running at that thing hard. You're going to look up and that person's going to be there. And the only reason that you notice them is because they're doing the same thing. They're fixing their eyes on God. They look up. You guys happen to be in the same place, same time, whatever. And it's going to happen when it's designed to.
Totally.
It's not in my own strength.
I even think that like I feel a certain level, have felt a certain level of, not necessarily like I feel pressure in my own relationship, but just in like the world around me. It's especially in like Christian culture. It's not normal to date somebody for 7 years and not be married.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm super thankful that Jordan and I didn't get married at 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Like I'm so actually thankful. And I love my relationship today tenfold. Whoa, what I did 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Like I'm so thankful that we had the space to grow and actually like going to that season, like knowing who we are. And it's like, it's such a breath of fresh air because I feel like we dated and I know that like Jordan has all these qualities and I really love our relationship, but there was a lot of work independently that needed to be done before like we say I do. And I love that man so much and I'm so proud of him and what he's grown into and what I've grown into. And like, I know that I will be able to like stand at the altar and be like, hell yeah. And I'll be like, hell yeah, sister. Yeah. Everyone else will be like, about time. But like, I'm so excited. And it feels like
oh my gosh, I can't wait.
So exciting. And not just saying like, yeah, I do. And like, I do in a little bit of a finger cross of like, I hope we don't end up in like a divorce because like,
can you imagine?
I can't imagine saying I do and not being like, which I don't know if maybe people do say I do and they're like, they are crossing their fingers behind their back. Like, I hope this works out, but I don't know. I don't want to imagine. I imagine
not everybody gets married feeling like, thank you, God, this is from you. I imagine.
I mean, I'm sure some people
are crossing their fingers.
I'm sure.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like, you're like, sure.
I feel like it's hit hard it's hit home so hard these days of like my generation. Wait, are we different generations?
I don't know. My dad.
Apparently you're a boomer.
My dad. I skipped a couple up. My dad always gives me a hard time. Like, you're not a millennial. You're Gen Z. I'm 95. It's like the cusp, whatever. I feel like I identify more with millennials technically from my siblings, but I think I could probably go either.
Anyway,
whatever.
It's like this generation, you know, they don't know how to date. They don't know how to be in a relationship. Like it's a relationship problem. No, honey, it's a singleness problem.
Ooh.
If they were to address who they are, find who they are, one, love Jesus, love themselves, then love others. Like that's the way it's supposed to go. Being single, if you are intentional about it, it is going to be one of the most transformational, provisional times of your life. And it sets you up for marriage. Like if I'm able to focus on who I am now, not for marriage,
right?
Just who I am as a person, dig up things that I need to work through, you know, make relationships with people, have good community, read my Bible, focus on my relationship with God, ask for his vision, ask for God, what's my calling? Like use me. If I'm focused on that, I am going to be more than prepared for a marriage one day.
Yeah.
You know,
that's so good. It's a singleness problem.
It really is, dude. I mean, I have found myself in a place where I am so busy and consumed with like wanting a relationship that my prayer is dedicated to that. Mm-hmm. You know, my devotional, it's like, what can I read about relationships?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, take your focus off that. Focus on what it is that God has in store for you today.
Like put your eyes on your own 2 feet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I know what I desire. God knows what I desire, but his desires for me are greater than what I could ever imagine. Like my greatest thought about myself is God's lowest thought about me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like it is just so above
we can't
and
even
beyond.
scratch the surface.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all.
And if you actually are like letting the Lord lead your life and you're like, I like that analogy of just like running your race and you're like seeking after him and you are like fully stepping into who he's designed you as an individual to be.
Yeah.
It's going to like pair so well.
Totally,
with
dude.
somebody else versus like trying to fit a mold that could fit this guy that's really cute at the gym. And I really like how he looks and he's tall enough and he's the right, whatever. Yeah. That's really good.
Yeah. I don't know. Being single, it's a weird time, but it's a special time. It's in a very, very important time that I think you need to take advantage of. I'm trying to take advantage of it now.
I think more people should be, again, calling the kettle black, but I really do think more people should be single in their 20s.
Yeah.
Like it's such an informative time.
Yeah. My sister, Haley, her and Daniel, her husband, my brother-in-law, they've been married. Oh gosh, I feel horrible. But I think for like 8 years.
It could be closer to 10. 9 maybe.
Sorry,
whatever.
sis.
It's close. It's close.
They've been together for quite some time. They dated pretty young too. But, you know, having conversation with her throughout the last couple years, she was like, I'm a little bit like jealous. I never got to like live on my own and I never like did the whole like go on a date here or there. And so I think hearing that too, I'm like, okay, like this is something to be, you know, happy about.
Like shift your perspective on it. Yeah.
Like be single, do the single things. Like I remember when I moved in my first place by myself, I was just like, I felt really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know how to pay my bills. I know how to do a budget. I can, you know, I pay for my own gas, my groceries, my rent. When my sister, you know, directly went to college. I was like, and then you're burning two eyes through me.
I was so intrigued what you're going to say.
But Haley never got to experience that. So that's another cool side of it. It's just like, take advantage of this time.
It really is. I've had my mom and sister both tell me that because they both like, my mom, she's so cute. She's always like, yeah, I did go to college. I got my MRS degree. I got married. That's what I wanted.
Auntie.
But she and my sister got married like around the same time too. But they both were like, I wish I would have lived on my own. And because my sister did go from living at our parents' house to living with her husband, because of that experience and watching that.
Did she?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I guess Haley did too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no. They went to college.
Well, yeah. College. And then she like moved home. And then like.
Okay, yeah. Sure. Yeah.
And yeah, they lived on their own, but I'm talking.
No,
it's not really living on your own because your parents are still like.
And you have a roommate.
Financially, whatever.
Haley and Mikey were roommates.
No, but they did go to college together.
Well, whatever. They lived in the same dorm.
No, but they did go to college together.
Haley was in Hitchcock. Mikey was.
I think Mikey slept on Haley's floor most nights because she had a weird roommate.
I thought they were both in Hitchcock.
I don't know.
Okay, sorry.
Maybe they moved
track.
around. But yeah, they both have told me like, I wish I would have been able to live on my own, pay my own bills. And after watching my sister, I remember her being like to her husband, like, well, my parents, I think they did bills like this. And I think that they did credit cards like that. And, you know, and I don't know. I can't speak for Kyle, what his information going into the relationship was like, but because of that narrative, I was like, I don't know much about credit, but I know I got to get my own and I want to stand on my own 2 feet. I do not want to rely on like, well, my husband will just hopefully know all the financial things because it's like, I want to be independent in that way. And like, it feels so good to come to the table and be like, this is what I do. This is what I've been doing. What have you been doing? Okay. How do we, you know, what makes this efficient together? And it's so much more of like a teammate dynamic because I'm not getting in a marriage and like signing my life away and just thinking that person like controls my life. That is not what I'm about to do.
Right.
I want a teammate who's running the race with me, who actually like, hey, are you sprinting faster than me? I want to sprint fast with you too. Like I want them to encourage me to run. I want them to encourage me to like be better, to like run after my goals, encourage my goals, like, and not just be like, well, I'm the breadwinner, you can stay home. And if that's what you're doing, then that's great. But it's like, independently, what do those goals fulfill you if you are wanting to stay home? Because I think that'd be great too. But like, like I want someone to like encourage me to run the race.
I real quick, going back to like, you should date when you're single, like experience what you do, what you don't like. That reminded me of one of my most recent situations, but I really started like catching some feelings for this guy, and he the same as me, but he knew that, he was in the place to give 100% and really like this dude. Like he was amazing in all ways, but he said like, I know where you're at, and I know like the intentionality that you've had in your singleness. I haven't gotten the opportunity to have that intentionality. So I know that I am not like prepared to be in a relationship with you. And so things ended. And as much as that like sucked, because I really like was enjoying this person and I felt at peace about it when praying about this person to God, and everything just felt right. I never fully got an answer of like, this is the man for you. One, that's huge. But two, it's like, that was the most attractive thing that a man has done for me, dude.
Yeah, like, that's huge. That's mature.
Obviously, that was God speaking to him and then relaying to me like, Abigail, let me protect your heart. So as much as that hurt, it's like, okay, the flag couldn't be more clear. Like, this is not the person for you.
Yeah.
Trust me, and I got you. And so, I don't know, that was just like a really beautiful experience. Like, that is how you love someone well.
Wow, that's
like
cool.
Wanting something so badly, but loving someone and not going after what you want because it's not going to benefit them.
It's not like the most loving thing for them. Well, and like for him too, knowing that there's things in his heart that he's like, I want to be there. I want to encourage you to run the race. I want to be like,
he was doing all of those things that you were just listing.
Yeah.
That's what made me think of him. It's like, that's him.
Yeah.
Like treated me so well.
Yeah.
Oh, but so cool. It's so beautiful.
It is so beautiful because it's like,
I'm attracted to you even more. I know. So stupid.
Dude, no, but it is really cool. And that is very loving and like mature, honestly, to be able to be like, if you love something, set it free. Not that you said I love you, but it's like, he really, I'm sure, has love for you and like probably admires you so much. And to know that like, I can't step into that role right now because I'm not there. And like, that's the kind of discernment and that's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it takes,
I'm sorry, as unfortunate as that is.
No, it's totally fine. I see the beauty in it.
Yeah.
And it was a really like good lesson for me. And it showed me like what I really do deserve and how to be loved. Yeah. It's really cool. I think, if you guys take away anything from this episode,
like we've been all over the map.
Yeah. But I feel like we really did hit it home with being intentional in your singleness and putting the focus on God and you and creating a routine that's going to set you up for success when you do meet that person someday, that they become an additive to your life and not your life.
Oh yeah. Say that again.
When they become an additive to your life and don't become your life.
I think
let them be the gravy, but not the mashed potatoes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah. I'm so excited for Thanksgiving.
Oh God, me too.
Yeah, I feel like dating with intentionality in your singleness, if you can get alone with yourself and get honest about boundaries that you, or like the list thing, the characteristic thing, and like, and then going into the dating life, hold yourself accountable. And like, you are worth holding yourself accountable. If that's in your singleness, you heard so clearly, or you feel so clearly, like I'm not supposed to be with someone who doesn't open the door for me, or who doesn't like, who talks to me like a certain way. Like those are super simple things. And like, if you go on dates and it's not it, let it not be it.
Totally.
You know, hold yourself accountable.
Also, if you struggle with that, that's okay. And that's why it's so important to have a community around you. There's something that I struggle with. I've talked to Bailey about it. Like, I need you to hold me accountable for this. Let's have a code word. When I'm feeling weak in this area, I'm going to text you this word and I need you. You'll know what it means. Pray for me, talk to me. That's really important because I'll be honest, like there are some things in life that I'm sure everybody has this, but like I am very weak and I could use some extra accountability. So find a person that can hold you accountable too, that is in a healthy mindset and on the same wavelength spiritually that you are.
That's good.
Yeah. I really enjoyed this conversation with you.
Too.
Yeah. Make sure you guys, as always, do react to our Would You Rather, or I guess respond. Would you rather?
Not Michael Jackson.
No, that was just a little
armpit.
Yeah. Or lick the bottom of your most worn shoe that you've worn in the city, Bailey.
Those armpits have been sweating in the city, Abby.
Yep.
This is not a showered armpit, right? It's not a showered shoe.
No, that wouldn't be fair. It's just a normal armpit.
Okay.
So, yeah, let us know. Sorry, I feel like mine are always really gross compared to yours.
Okay, mine is
okay, that is bad.
Okay, so you guys, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being supportive. Thank you for answering our Would You Rathers, and you can keep helping me win.
And thank you so much for all of the follows that we got this past week. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, we've been having a lot of fun. And if you don't follow us, you can follow us at She Means Well Podcast. And individually, mine is Bailey Powers, Baylye, Baylie Powers. I think on everything.
Yeah, mine's Abigail Leopard.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. We do have a TikTok going. We post like some reels on there. Nothing too special, but we'd love for you guys to follow us there as well. But with that being said, we'll see you next time.
Love you guys.
Love you guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.